They beat my mom. She's dying, cried the CEO's girl. Then the single dad's secret skill saved her intro hook. Marcus Chen was just trying to get through another double shift at the hospital when he heard the desperate screams echoing through the parking garage. Please, somebody help, they beat my mom, she's dying. The voice belonged to a young girl, maybe 7 years old, her designer dress torn and her face streaked with tears. Most people would freeze. Most people would wait for security, but Marcus wasn't most people. He had a secret skill that nobody at County General knew about, a past he'd buried when he became a single father working as a hospital janitor. And in the next 60 seconds, that secret would change everything. The girl was shaking her mother's limp body when Marcus reached them. Blood pooled on the concrete. The woman's breathing was shallow, fading fast. Marcus knew he had maybe 3 minutes before it would be too late. 3 minutes to decide if he would reveal who he really was. Call to action: before we continue with this incredible story, please take a moment to subscribe to Heartfelt Moments, where we share true stories of kindness, courage, and the power of human connection. Hit that like button if you believe in everyday heroes, and drop a comment telling us about a time when a stranger's kindness changed your life. Now, let's get back to Marcus and discover how one man's compassion rewrote two destinies forever. Main story: Marcus Chen hadn't always been a janitor. 10 years ago, he'd been Dr. Marcus Chen, one of Boston's most promising trauma surgeons. But when his wife died giving birth to their daughter Emma, and the hospital blamed him for not being there during a critical surgery, everything fell apart. He lost his medical license in the investigation that followed. Heartbroken and desperate to provide for his newborn daughter, he moved to a small city in Ohio, took a job cleaning floors at the very hospital where he once would have been saving lives, and promised himself he'd never touch a patient again. But promises don't mean much when a child is begging you to save her mother's life. Marcus dropped to his knees beside the unconscious woman. She'd been beaten badly, probably a robbery gone wrong in the dim parking garage. The little girl, whose name he learned was Sophie, clutched his arm. Please, mister. Please don't let my mommy die. Her voice cracked with a pain that Marcus recognized, the same terror he'd felt holding his wife's hand as she slipped away. I'm going to help her, Marcus said quietly, but I need you to be very brave for me, okay? He assessed the woman's injuries with practiced eyes that hadn't forgotten a single thing. Fractured ribs, internal bleeding, possible brain trauma. She needed surgery immediately, but the ER was 3 floors up and she wouldn't survive the journey. Marcus looked at his janitor's cart, at the first aid kit he always carried, at his hands that once performed miracles. Stay with me, he whispered to the unconscious woman, then louder to Sophie. Run inside and tell them Dr. Chen needs an emergency surgical kit in parking level B2. Tell them it's life or death. Can you do that? Sophie nodded and ran, her small shoes echoing through the garage. Marcus worked fast. Using supplies from his cart and his jacket as compression, he stabilized her neck and managed the bleeding. His hands moved with muscle memory, each action precise despite a decade away from the operating room. He talked to the woman the whole time, the way he used to talk to his patients. You've got a fighter's spirit, I can tell. Your daughter needs you, stay with us. When the medical team arrived with Dr. Patricia Reynolds, the hospital's chief of surgery, her eyes went wide. Marcus, what are you? Then she saw what he'd done. The professional stabilization, the correct pressure points, the way he'd positioned the patient. My God, you saved her life. I used to be a surgeon, Marcus said simply, stepping back as the team took over. A long time ago, as they rushed the woman to surgery, Sophie threw her arms around Marcus's waist. Thank you for saving my mommy. Dr. Reynolds stayed behind, studying Marcus with new eyes. Chen. Dr. Marcus Chen from Boston General. I remember reading about your case. That investigation was a witch hunt. You were a brilliant surgeon. Marcus shrugged. That doesn't matter anymore. I have a daughter to raise. It matters to that woman upstairs fighting for her life. It matters to her daughter. Dr. Reynolds paused. And it matters to me. I'm going to make some calls, Marcus. What happened to you in Boston was wrong, and maybe it's time to make it right. 3 hours later, Sophie's mother, Victoria Sterling, came through surgery. Turned out she was the CEO of a major pharmaceutical company, attacked in a targeted assault by corporate rivals. When she woke up and learned a janitor with a hidden past had saved her life, she made her own calls. Within weeks, Marcus's case was under review. Victoria hired the best lawyers in the country. Dr. Reynolds testified about his skill and quick thinking. And Emma, Marcus's 10-year-old daughter, finally understood why her dad always told her that kindness was the most important thing in the world, even more important than titles or money or pride. The medical board reinstated Marcus's license 8 months later. Dr. Reynolds offered him a position in trauma surgery at County General. But the real miracle happened the day Marcus performed his first official surgery back, removing Victoria Sterling's daughter Sophie's appendix. As he scrubbed in, he thought about how one moment of choosing compassion over fear had given him back everything he'd lost. Victoria started a foundation for wrongfully accused medical professionals. Sophie and Emma became best friends. And Marcus learned that sometimes the janitorial work of cleaning up your past means having the courage to use your gifts when someone desperately needs them, no matter what it might cost you. Conclusion: Marcus Chen's story reminds us that kindness isn't always convenient. Sometimes it asks us to risk everything, to reveal our vulnerabilities, to step into situations that might change our lives forever. But that's exactly when kindness matters most. When Marcus chose to help a stranger's dying mother, he didn't know he'd get his career back or gain a new family. He simply knew that a little girl needed him, and that was enough. Today, ask yourself, what gifts are you hiding that could change someone's life? What kindness are you holding back because you're afraid of what it might reveal about you? The world needs your compassion, your skills, your willingness to show up in someone's darkest moment. Be the person who stops when others walk by. Be the Marcus in someone's story. Because kindness, real kindness, doesn't just save lives, it transforms them. Word count, 1,089 words.